In this video, you're going to learn how to install WordPress manually through FTP. Now, before we get started, there are several things that you're going to need. The first one is you're going to have to download WordPress itself. Second, you're going to need web hosting FTP username and password details. And then the third thing is going to be an FTP program. I'm going to show you how you can get an FTP program. Now, I'd actually recommend that you download a program called FileZilla, which is free and you don't pay anything for it. If you go to FileZilla at filezilla-project.org, click the client download once it comes up, and you'll see that FileZilla is compatible with Windows, Macintosh, and Linux, so there shouldn't be any problems. Just go ahead, download it, install it, and then open it up. And then the next thing we're going to need is to grab hold of the WordPress installation files. So in Google, just do a search for WordPress download. Then probably click the top link that comes up in the search listings. And from there, just simply click the download WordPress 3.4 option. Once the file's downloaded, locate it on your computer, and then we can go from there. Okay, so this is the file right here. What you want to do is extract or unzip it. So we're going to unzip it into a folder and then simply click on the folder until you see all the files. Okay, so these are all the files that we want to upload to our website. So the next step is to go to FileZilla, the FTP program that we downloaded and installed. And this is the program that you're going to see here. And what you need to do is up at the top, using your FTP username and password, go to the host section here, type in ftp dot whatever your host name is, so yourdomain.com, something like that. And then enter your username and password. Now, what I like about FileZilla is that once you connect once, it'll store a list of your history. And what I mean is, if you want to connect again at a later time, you can actually do that. Okay, so right now what you need to do is go to the public_HTML folder. Now, for some of you, you will have a folder called HTTP docs. And depending on your host, some of you might have something completely different. So go to your main folder, whatever it's called, and if you want to install WordPress on yourdomain.com, then you're going to copy all of these files to that main folder. However, if you want to install WordPress in a subdirectory, then you'll need to create that directory in the main folder. And in this case, I'm going to install WordPress in a subdirectory. So what I need to do is simply right click, click on create a directory, and create the directory. So let's say, for example, I'm going to be creating a blog on t-shirts, just like in the last video. So I'm going to call this Funny T-shirts 2 and click on OK. I'm going to open up this folder, and what you do is simply highlight all the files here. Simply drag with my mouse from here over to here. And as you can see, it's uploading over 900 files. Now, while this is uploading, I'm going to go ahead and go over to my web browser, and I'm going to log into my web hosting panel so that I can create a database and a database username and password. We need these three items in order to finalize the WordPress installation. So whether you're using cPanel or you're using Plesk or any other type of web hosting panel, the key here is to create a MySQL database, username and password. So in this case, I'm going to be using cPanel. So what I need to do with the cPanel is scroll down and find where it says MySQL Database Wizard. So like I said earlier, if you're using Plesk or any other type of web hosting panel, you should see something that says Create MySQL Database or something along those lines. And if you don't, you can always contact your web hosting company and I'm sure they'll help you out. Now, if I click on this here, I can enter, let's say, funny t-shirts 2. Click on next step. Let's create a username. We'll generate a password. Just make sure you save that password. Create a user and make sure you save this information. And click on All Privileges. Click on the Next Step button. And there we go. We're all done. So the only thing we need to do now is make a note of the database name. Now I'm actually copying this information over to Notepad as I'm speaking here. We're almost done. Close this. And I'm going back to FileZilla. And I see that all the files have been uploaded. So now what I need to do is go back to my computer where the files are located and locate the wp-config-sample.php file. I need to rename this to wp-config.php. Once it's renamed, next I'm going to right click and open this file using Notepad. If you're using Macintosh or something else, just open this up in any notepad or text editor that you're comfortable with. And what we want to do is take these 3 pieces of information that we created earlier, the database username and password, and replace this information here with what we just created. Now, replace the text between these single quotes. So we'll highlight the database name and paste in our proper database name. Highlight the username in between the single quotes and paste in our proper username. And then do exactly the same with the password. Exit the document, make sure you save it. And then what we need to do is copy that file over to our web host by dragging it into the FTP software. And then the last thing you need to do is this. Just go to your web browser and go to the location where you installed the files. Make sure you put in the subdirectory where we install WordPress if you're using one, just like this, and press enter. Now enter your site title, and here we're going to call this Funny T-shirts 2. Enter your admin username and password. Enter your email address. And then we got this privacy checkbox. And this will allow search engines to actually find your website. You're actually saying to the search engines, I'm allowing you to index my site. So this means Google, Bing, Yahoo, and all the other search engines will be able to find your site, register it in their index so that other people will be able to find your site in their search engines. Now when we're starting off, I suggest you don't have this checked because your website actually has nothing on it. So, we don't really want the search engines to be indexing all the just default content on your website. Once you have some good content on there, then we can turn that back on. And that's when we can get the search engines to come back, index your site and find out what your site's all about. So the last thing to do is click on the Install WordPress button. And then you're all done. Click on the Login button. Key in your username and password. And bingo, you've now got WordPress installed on your website.